Seeing a woman's flesh fall off her arm after being involved in an explosion is not something I had on my bingo card, but whew, that is rough to watch. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. A new Apple Plus series called Smoke has dropped. First two episodes, one called Pilot, the other is You're Happy Makes Me Sad, starring Taron Egerton and Jurnee Smollett. For my folks who are here, who I've sort of done the thing with Poker Face, I will finish that series off, that season off. I will get to that, but I could not resist doing this. One, Apple has not failed me yet. Well, Dope Thief started off strong and then went off the rails. But for the most part, Apple puts out quality. So the second I saw this trailer, I was like, oh, I want to see whatever this is giving me. And let me say, it delivers. It is a really well done show. I don't really have too many qualms about it. There is one thing though. I came in because of the trailer, and I feel like people who read the books or came in for the trailer. There's a twist that happens at the end of the second episode that, unfortunately, the trailers, the way that they're cut, sort of gave me that information already. And I don't think that's the weight of this series. I think if you're doing this, you're giving that reveal in the bottom of the second episode, that's not going to be the end all be all about your series. But that reveal was given to me in the trailer. And I wish it hadn't been, so I could sort of accept that information as a fresh-eyed new audience member. But when we get there, the reveal is not as shocking to me as I think it would be for some people. But it does allow you to sort of play the two episodes you just watched back in your head and see where things were done a different way or done a particular way for a reason. I'm going to stop dancing around it. We're going to get into spoilers now. And we're going to just go through the first couple of episodes. So the series is roughly about two folks. It's Taron Egerton's character of Dave Goodson, and then Jurnee Smollett's character of Detective Michelle Calderon. And Dave is a arson investigator, and Michelle is a detective in the robbery division. And so she gets put sort of in a demotion way. We'll get there in a second. But she gets demoted to going to partner with an arson investigator to figure out there are two massive arsons that are happening concurrently, same time in the city, and they're sort of tasked together to stop them and figure out what the hell is going on. A couple of personality traits right out the gate for both of them. Both of them have been involved in fires when they were young, which is an important aspect because I think as we go along, we're going to sort of see how the parallel of two characters come out of the fire, what they become when on the other side of that. But Dave has nightmares from fires that he's been a part of, fires that he was in as a kid. He mentions during his conversations with Michelle how he ran through a mirror thinking that he was going to a firefighter. He has trauma that is built in there. Because of that, he can't connect to his stepson at all. And he tends to keep his relationship with Ashley, his wife, at bay, at arm's length. We learn overall that Dave is very good at putting on a facade. And that facade, unfortunately, doesn't allow himself to sort of emote or talk about things like a normal person. He's sort of just always smiling and always kind of like, all right, I'm going to keep everything even keel. He gets his release, one of his releases. He gets some of his release through writing a book that allows him to sort of emote in one way. He emotes in another way, which we'll get on as we go along. Michelle, on the other side, is alone by choice. She's a self-saboteur. She chooses to sabotage her life over and over and over and over again. But she is a woman, younger, female, African-American detective who has already made detective rank at her age and her gender and her ethnicity, that it's clear that she is ahead of the curve. And we learn that some of that is because she's done some things shady. She's sort of using her sexuality and feminine wiles to sort of advance. Not always. Sometimes she is also just really good at it. So she keeps muddying the waters and making a gray line where you can't really tell, is she getting these things on her own merit, or is she getting them because she is good in bed? But we learn that she's coming from the robbery department and she does not have a lot of friends in the department. And her being put with the arson investigator is more of a demotion because she was having an affair with a detective, Stephen Burke, who left his wife and his kids for her based on conversations that they had had. When he presents that to her, she's like, nah, I ain't want you to do that. What the hell are you doing? And that ends up with him basically threatening her and saying, like, look, I'm going to burn you and your road is going to be hard. You may eventually come out on the other side of it when it's all said and done, but I'm going to make it pure hell for you going forward. And so that is how she ends up with the fire folks. On their first meeting, Dave wants nothing to do with Michelle. It's like, I don't know who sent you here or why you're here or why you're in my office, but you don't need to be here. We got this from here. He takes her on a test to go to sort of see what she can figure out and what she knows about crime scene investigations. But she's like, look, you guys have two arsonists on your hand, and I maybe just need a fresh pair of eyes. I'm coming at this as a detective. And they eventually, after the test, after whatnot, they eventually sort of create a bond and a little relationship to sort of be good partners in whatever it is that these two arsonists are doing. She brings up one of the arsonists, which we call the DNC, the chip arsonist. And he got that name because he often sets the fires at grocery stores in the chip aisle. And we see sort of a 2-week flash forward of a first person version of seeing the arsonist in his element going through the process and going through and burning up the chips. He knows very well where the cameras are. He knows how to avoid them. He's blocking everything, but he gets in, gets out, sets everything on fire. That's one of the arsonists. The other arsonist is called the Jug arsonist. I think they call him the Jug. But basically, he uses jugs of gasoline, milk jugs of gasoline, and he used an accelerant from a fast food restaurant to put under the porches of a house, and typically at night, and blow them up. Dave assesses that the motive for the Jug arsonist is that he wants the other folks to feel as powerless as they feel. That's a tale, by the way, for both of them. Michelle flashes back to when she was a kid and was engulfed in a fire, felt powerless. Then we see Dave sort of getting that same way. But that's a tale in that Dave is sort of talking about himself when he gets these random thoughts about how to figure out the Jug arsonist. He's getting thoughts about himself, as we come to find out as we go along that he is the other arsonist. And it's a weird reveal because, again, I as a person knew that, but it is important to sort of get that information now. I'm giving that to you now because as we go along, you'll sort of see things that he did to sort of, okay, got it. This is one of those. The motive is the same motive that he has. He wants people to feel powerless. Thus, he knows that the Jug person also wants people to feel powerless. In regards to the DNC, they sort of deduce, Dave sort of offers it up, that the arsonist is probably ex-firefighter, focusing on the ex. He eventually says that it's like, I don't think it's any current ones. One, I can't get access to them. He doesn't want to get access to them, but he can't get access to the firefighters. Michelle can. On the other side, we follow Freddie. And this is an interesting part of this series where they do a good job of like, all right, we're going to show the life of an arsonist from the viewpoint that that's the guy, that is the person that is the arsonist. And then we're going to show it from the person who is hiding in plain sight. And then we're going to have this girl, this detective in the middle who's sort of trying to figure out both. Freddie is a down on his luck, 43-year-old Black man who has been working at this fast food restaurant for ages and shown no growth or no momentum. He's disheveled with his hair. Life has done him no favors. And so we see him closing off a restaurant. He's getting called back to come right back the next morning to open. We follow him from his working establishment to his dilapidated apartment, where doesn't have much furniture in it. He's living alone by himself, and his vices are to just come home, drink, and watch porn. Like that's what brings him joy, and at this point in his life, which is a sad state. Dave reports to a new fire, interrupting his writing sessions in the car. Of a new store, one of the chip explosions, one that we learn he actually is the culprit of, the responsible for. This is where we get that gruesome shot of the woman coming out of the explosion with her skin flesh just falling off the bone. Fire is nothing to play with, and it can turn things very quickly. Calderon arrives on the scene. She gives Dave a little bit of crap about not informing her that this was happening. He's like, "All right, that's my bad. I apologize." And then they find some of the incendiary devices inside the store, and they deduce that the fire started in 3 locations in the store. But it's a cigarette that is used to sort of be the igniter and set everything on fire. And Michelle immediately is like, "This is a very unreliable method of setting things on fire," which means then that there are at least 10 to 12 other devices around this store that did not get set off that could be used as some type of clue with DNA or something on it. But because everything's on fire, there's nothing you can really do about it now. But if they were ever to catch or stop something ahead of time, they would be able to catch that. Although now, with her telling that to Dave, he may sort of pull that back a little bit to be a little bit smarter in the future of this cat and mouse game that's about to happen. The two of them arrive back at the precinct for the fire department, and Greg Kinnear, who plays Chief Englehart, has been getting the shaft from the upper brass and from the grocery store chains and business bureaus about all these fires that are taking place, specifically the ones that are happening at the stores, because there is a stigma that is happening around chips and the products and whatnot, and they don't want to create copycats that do the exact same thing in other stores, and so they need this to stop because they're starting to feel that this fire department is not competent in in their ability to find out who this is. It's at that point that Harry Englehart says, "If I go down, you're going down." He's talking to Dave. And he's also saying, "Hey, Michelle, you're also going to go down. And for you, I don't know if there's much further you can go down besides from going to robbery to now being a fire person lapdog. But the elevator, we'll find out what floor is below this, and that's where you're going to end up going." So they're both kind of like, we need to figure this out to sort of get the reclamation process going. Now, knowing what we know, that's the case for Michelle. She needs these, and we see that as we go along. She needs these to get out of the druthers of what she's at, because Steve has sort of got his foot on her neck. And these would help sort of give her the leg up to sort of move back up the ranks. Dave, I don't think he particularly cares whether or not he is put there or not. So the two start talking shop, coming up with things. She gives him a pen so she can look at it too as well, to see all the current firefighters who exist. And they just start chopping it up and just going over hours and hours and hours of camera work and files and whatnot to see who had out days, vacation days and whatnot around the same times that these massive arson fires were happening. And they come down to 2 names. I believe one was Scotty and one was Arch. It is interesting now, knowing what we know, that it's clear that Dave picked these 2 for a reason, because they were shady people. He even so much as speaks about how shady Arch is. And so he's actively pointing, his person was Arch, her person was Scotty. He didn't really look at the file for Scotty, knowing in his head that neither of them are the people, but he still was like, "I'm going to feed you Arch, because this is probably the person that can get the most traction as being the red herring for being the arsonist." But they go see Scotty. Scotty stonewalls them and lets them know that, yeah, it could be a clerical error, it could not be, but also I have moved to being an engineer. And that means nothing to Michelle, but Dave immediately knows, like, well, yeah, as an engineer, you are responsible for driving your team to whatever fire. So the team doesn't get there without him. And so there's a little bit of egg on Michelle's face. Some of that I feel like Dave was doing on purpose, like trying to set her up to bring her down so she doesn't look like she is on the right track. That he has a bit of better knowledge of this world than she does. But um, they then go to see Arch. Mind you, this is a tight knit community, this fire people. So Scotty had already given the information to Arch, like they're coming. So Arch is stonewall him, and he says some really sly and slick racist crap to Michelle that Dave feigns protective over her. Whether he does or not, I can't quite get a read, but he at least puts on the front that he is protective of her. But as of now, they both still feel that that's the guy. Now, obviously, knowing what we know, Dave knows that's not the guy, but he's like, what can I do to sort of pin him towards that? And she's like a dog on a bone. Whether rules matter or not, she's trying to get this case solved because she has an agenda to, like, I need to get out of this. I need to move back up to where I was. While they go to regroup, they switch focus again back to the jug arsonist. And Dave says that the arsonist is probably somebody who observes the community and the victims. Like, so they're going down the street. And he's like, yeah, he hit that one. He hit that one. He hit that one. He's like, this person doesn't know these victims, but he has observed them and enough to know when to strike. He's in the area. He also works at a fast food restaurant because this is when he tells her, like, he's using the grease from fast food to be an accelerant. And so she's like, well, why don't we just go to every fast food spot? And Dave's like, you know how many fast food places there are in the world? We have nothing to go by. We don't have age, race, height, nothing. We have nothing to go on. So that's just a wide net of nothingness that we can do. It's not going to work. We then see Freddie at a bar observing patrons and following a pair of them home. They're a couple, a black couple, who this is their first night out after having a baby. So they were just enjoying their life, having their time. I can relate to that. And so they are enjoying life and having a good time. They get back home and we see Freddie sort of kind of go through the motions. And in his sadness, he doesn't want to see anybody else happy. He wants them to be on the same level as he is, as low and as sad and broken as he is. And so he watches them go to bed, and then he sets his trap, his fire, and it explodes. And he is watching this the entire time. He's seeing the embers fly in the air, and you can just see pure bliss and joy just come across Freddie's face, which is it's haunting. It's haunting in that it's a scene where you're seeing pure terror happen in the other and for that family. The wife dies protecting the baby. The baby is fine, thank God. And the husband is completely just destroyed. Grafts. He's going to need thousands and thousands upon skin grafts. Pure terrors happen there. But then we flip it on the other side and see it through the eyes of the arsonist, and he's standing there like he's watching fireworks and just being this heavenly, godly experience that he's happening. And it is jarring and terrifying. The final piece of the first episode is Michelle returns home. She sees it's important, the piece. She sees a letter of parole that she just refuses to open. But we're going to clock that. That comes back up in the next episode. But then she hears somebody that's in her house. And so she pulls out her gun and goes around and investigates. And it's Berg, her boy toy, on the front porch. And this is a weird relationship the two of them have. But he still wants to be with her, but his life has now been set ablaze. And she's responsible for it. She's set his life on fire. But he still wants to watch her struggle. Like, he wants to see it firsthand. Like, I want to see you try your damnedest to get out of the situation that I've put you in. It's a very controlling tactic that he has. And some of it is captain to detective. Some of it is like white man to black woman. It's a lot of power dynamics that are played there. But she's at the mercy of him. And he's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to get out of this. You got two arsons happening at the same time. She's like, look, if I can get one of them, hell, if I can get both of them, there's nothing you can do to keep me down. But she can't escape this sort of rat race that she's in until she does. So the next day, next episode, Michelle finds surveillance of the DNC, the chip arsonist, and sees that when he immediately gets up from setting one of his incendiary devices, he doesn't have the limp anymore. And so she's ready to show this to Dave. And Dave comes in, she's like, look, I got something. And she's really happy. Dave sees it and doesn't really respond to it. And she's like, look, let me show you what I'm talking about. Like, look at this tape. And he's like, oh, well, that's good. I'm glad you found something. He doesn't want to play up to it too much because he knows that could sort of change the focus back to him, because that's him. And he's like, well, crap, I got to do a better job of limping. And so that's another tale where he's like, I can't give you that you're on the right track because I need to shut you down. Let me pull your focus back to this rat one, this jug one, because that's where we need to be at. And so he comes in because Dave followed the clues from that family and found out that they had been partying before, celebrating life and having a good time their first night out. He uses that to follow to the bar because he believes that this person has been observing. And so he gets a sketch of Freddie, basically. We know it was Freddie. He gets a sketch of Freddie, takes it to her, and then they take it to the father who was blown up or who is in the hospital with a lot of skin graft situations happening for his life. And he has no knowledge of him. He's like, I don't know that person from a hole in the wall. And he's like, okay. And he comes to find out that the only reason he's in the predicament that he's in is because he was happy that day and Freddie was not. We then follow Freddie. We look at Freddie for a while, and Freddie gets posited the idea from a patron at work, a person who actually seems to have good intentions for him, that he should look forward to more at work than just being the friar. Like you have managerial experience. You should try to be a manager and like clean yourself up a little bit and go for it. For him, that's the first time that he it thinks a little bit. He has like a glimpse of hope. Like, wait, I can do more. I can be more. So he actually goes home, takes the time to look online, puts the porn to the side for a little bit. Like, you know what? I'm gonna skip the porn today, and decides that, hey, let me look up this managerial experience. So he looks up the managerial application, but they bring up the fact that he needs to have his high school diploma in it. So he immediately closes it down, pours himself a drink, and lives in his sorrows again. He gets back to work the following day, though, and this employee is kind of like, well, you have a GED. That's the equivalent. Like, that's the same. Like, I know 3 other managers who have a GED. You can do that if you want, but like, do you really want to do that? Like, do you really want to be a manager? Like, why the hell would you go after that? This is what you are. This is what you should be. You should just stay where you're at. And he wants no parts of that. And he has a thing where he says, if you don't have dreams, what do you have? And so it's the first time that you can see he aspired. There was a point in time where he aspired to be way more than what he is, living in that home, porn, alcohol, disheveled. But his dreams got deferred and kind of crushed, and this is what he's sort of been in. And so for a moment now, he has this that he can sort of latch on to find some happiness. And I feel like in this brief moment of happiness, whatever the fires are doing to sort of give him that joy he has, he doesn't need that anymore because he's getting it from here. He's only setting these fires because his life and his dreams and his happiness is so gone. But in this brief moment, he's getting this moment where like, I can be more. I can be more. And so I think the thought of fires is completely out of his mind right now. Dave shows his wife the first passages of his book, and she loves it, but she does give a little bit of hints and saying, hey, you need a shot of estrogen in this. Like, you need to have some female characters. Nothing else. Everything else seems pretty good, but you just need to have some women in it. And he's pleased with that. It's like, all right, that's some pretty solid feedback. Again, their relationship, it gets talked about with Harry, but their relationship is very, I won't say broken, but it's very surface level. It's clear that there is, kind of like with Dexter, a little bit, but there's a beard situation happening. Not saying that he's gay, but saying that like he has dark thoughts, and sort of this relationship is sort of a surface level piece to kind of hide those thoughts, so it's not really seen. We see that Michelle has a parole hearing request for what I believe, it's not clear, but I believe it to be her mother, which I think her mother is sort of what started the fire that we keep seeing her see as a child. And so this is all sort of full circle. She was born out of that fire, and the version of Dave being the arsonist is born out of that one. Whatever she's going through, whatever her family lineage is, she is self-destructive. And so she and Dave decide to follow and tail Arch. They tail him to a location where it's like a gated community with a trailer home on it. They watch him take things into the building and then leave. And they don't have a cause or a reason for a warrant. So they decide to then follow him to his homestead and just sit on him. And they sit there for about 5 days, 5 nights, stake out, and nothing comes of it. They get nothing. And Dave's like, well, look, if he was the arsonist, he's on a sabbatical now, so let's go ahead and call it. Let's call it a day. So they take off. I don't know why it's here. I'm assuming it's going to be important for the future, but Englehart's daughter grabs the keys for the lake house to go up to the lake house for the weekend. I don't know if that comes back at any point in time, but that's they decided to put that in here, so there's a reason for it. Back at work, Freddie decides to dress up a bit. He comes in with like a button-up shirt, some pants. His hair is still disheveled. He still hasn't taken up the patron up on her beauty tips and getting a haircut, but he looks the part. And he's verified about the GED stuff. So he's like, yeah, I'm good to go. Like, I can go ahead and apply for this. So he's now dressing the part of the part that he wants. That patron comes back in, sees him a little dressed up. He's like, you're doing it. You're going for it. So someone gassing him up and bigging him up and making him feel like, hey, this is an actual shot that you can do. You can do this. Like, you got this. And she's like, look, come to my shop. I'll get you a free cut and everything. You'll be great. I can safely say that when this goes to shit and he doesn't get this job, she is absolutely going to die because she gave him the thought of hope and joy, and it has been snatched away from him. So yeah, I feel bad for her already. But after work, he goes to the shop and he gets the haircut, and it is for him a cathartic and euphoric experience. Like he's tearing up while he's getting his hair washed and before he gets his haircut, because he gets to sort of go back to being the version of him that had a motive, had something to do, had a goal, hope, dreams. He hasn't seen that version of himself in ages. So this is going to start sort of bringing him back to that happy point. While at the precinct, Dave is sort of trying to think of more things about the drug arsonist, and it clicks in his head because, like minds, clicks in his head that the arsonist will always return to the scene of the crime. Now he gets to do it automatically. He gets to do it because he is the person who set the crime. So then he's an arson investigator. So he always gets to return to the scene of the crime, and it's no one bats an eye about it because that's normal. He's supposed to be there. For the drug person, if he was to show up, it would stick out. And so he's looking through crime scene photos to see if there's any point where somebody pops up that looks like Freddie. He gets an email as he's about to leave the precinct from his literary agent about his book. He doesn't read it at that point, but he does later. And basically, they reject him, and they use some of the same things that Ashley says, like, "Yeah, you don't have any female characters, and your characters are paper thin." Oh, Michelle, being the top saboteur that she is, she decides to break into Archer's trailer home compound without a warrant, and she goes in, breaks open the lock, goes in, and for the most part, at the top of the trailer, you don't really see anything. Looks normal. You got your U.S. flag, some grenades in the fridge, a normal thing. But then she steps on the floorboard and sees that there's an entire bunker that has been built underneath with weapons galore. Like, he could start a war by himself and no one would be the wiser. He also has a sex room with a lot of just sex toys and beds and handcuffs and whatnot. Everything but the stuff that would look like a person who was setting fires would need. And then Arch comes down the bunker ladder and has a gun, and Michelle immediately puts two in his kneecaps, and one in each kneecap, and sets him down, and then handcuffs him, and is saying, like, tell me how you start the fires. Tell me how you start the fires. It's that point that Arch is like, look, you dumbass, I'm not starting any fires. I haven't started any fires. I don't have time to start fires because I've been building this bunker. For her, that immediately clicks like, yeah, like this is detailed. You're so focused down here. There's no way you could be the person who set the fire. So she comes out of the bunkers, out of the trailer home, and sort of has a momentary panic attack and trying to figure out how the hell she's going to get out of this because she now has put herself in a situation where she didn't go in there with a warrant, and the bottom floor is about to get real close. And so she is about to do a lifeline to reach out to Burke. Like that's who she normally sort of defaults to when she gets in trouble, when she needs help. That's who she would have defaulted to. But that relationship is tethered, and it's sort of you're in the situation because of him. So she sort of comes up with an idea on her own and sets up the scene to look like it was her following a tip, and that she had probable cause to go in there with guns blazing, so on and so forth, yada yada. And so it now seems like uh, uh, a good clean shoot. She goes through it with ATF, who collects all the weapons, and there's a bit of a connection with the military there. So she gets the story, and she sort of says, like, I thought this. Everyone sort of buys it and accepts it, and it's like, okay, cool. I guess that is what it is. And so she gets by through the skin of her teeth on this one. Ashley comes home to Dave with some news, and Dave's like, well, I have some too. And she's like, oh, okay. He's like, well, I'll go first. First off, my partner shot someone, and they're throwing her a party because she's being treated as a hero, even though she shot somebody, and it's not the arsonist. Now, here's the thing: in that moment, he didn't know that wasn't the arsonist, but he was clearly, based on rules and everything, he clearly did not know that Arch was not the arsonist. He has no idea what was at that bunker. He has no idea any of that information. In his brain, he is saying that because he knows I'm the fucking arsonist. Let's be. There's no way in hell she shot the right person because I am the person that she should have shot. But it's such a throwaway line that it's very much a bravado. Like, I know she's not. I know they throwing her a party for no reason. Like, she didn't do anything. The second is he mentions, oh yeah, my book got rejected. And she's like, cool story, bro. Are you kidding me? Is that all you got? And then she goes on to say that her son's father is moving 2,000 miles away, and Emmett, her son, his stepson, is taking this very hard. And Dave's like, oh, all right, we'll be all right. You know, he can move in here. Not a big deal. And he responds to this in a way that is not beneficial to Ashley at all. And this is where it comes in, where he's put on this surface level version of being a husband or a boyfriend or a dad. But the emotional connection to her or to Emmett isn't there. And so these responses just feel lackluster. And so she is not happy with that. And she pours herself a nice tall glass of white wine and is like, I don't care about dinner. You figure out what the hell. I'm not hungry. You go ahead and do your dinner yourself. And so he gets dinner. Emmett's coming home. Emmett lashes out at Dave. And Dave, for the first moment in this entire series so far, you see the sheen, the shield that Dave has to sort of be calm on the exterior break, because I think Dave said something to the effect to Emmett like, "Hey, I know your dad's not going to be around, but hey, I'm here for you." And Emmett says, truthfully, I don't give a flying fuck about that. Like, that means nothing to me." And Dave has a very negative response to that. You see that exterior break for just a moment, and then he's like, my bad, let me go ahead and step out. He goes and steps out, and then we follow him. We follow him to a point where he sets a fire. He sets the fire in full chip mode and gets pure joy out of that, because for a brief moment in that scenario at home, the power was taken away from him. The power in that scene was given to Emmett and Ashley. And so he felt powerless. And the only way that he could sort of gain some of that power back, because he needs to keep the sheen, he needs to keep this protection, he needs to keep the arson investigator, I need to keep this wife, I need to keep all of these vestiges of normalcy together. So I'm going to go set a fire so that I can at least get some type of reprieve, because I can't lash out and beat the shit out of this kid like I want to. And then the final piece is Michelle is celebrating with her fellow, both officers and firefighters. Engelhardt comes there, celebrates with her. she lets, in that moment, she gets another clue or tip that Dave doesn't come to these. Dave doesn't come to these. He doesn't celebrate these moments. And so I feel like these parties that happen when a good shoot or a good bus come down, she can probably pair eventually down the line is going to wise up and pair that these might occur on the same night because he won't ever be at these. So that'll sort of give him the caveat of being away. Just chalk that because that's the only reason you sort of bring that up with Englehart. But then Burke is there watching her from afar, and she steps out to get some air. Burke steps out there with her and calls her on her BS. Like, look, I know this wasn't a clean shoot. Like, this was sloppy. Like, you almost killed this man. If you were just a half a centimeter over, you would have hit his artery. And she's like, yeah, yes. And she says that she knows that when we go through all of the receipts and of all the things that are in that bunker, all the guns, all the sex toys, all the porn, all that stuff, it's going to coincide with being bought at the same time that these arsons would happen. He's going to be immediately be cleared off. Like, he's not going to be the guy. And it's at that point that Berg asks, like, well, do you have any other active firefighters? Because technically they would have no suspects. And she's like, well, there is one. Now, it's not her in her brain. It's not. She's not even looking at Dave. So it's going to be interesting. And while this trailer gave away the fact that Dave was the guy, and it's now going to be interesting to see how long Dave can keep the focus on the drug arsonist and not the chip arsonist before Michelle starts pointing towards Dave, and how long he can keep this visage up of family, keeping the family balance with his work balance with his I got to burn up some folks balance. I think the more and more he gets pushed out of having any type of control or power, the more we're going to see this chip person come down. And his are so specific that it has to happen at a grocery store that I feel like he's going to be an easier catch than the drug, because right now they have nothing. They have nothing on either of them, but we as an audience feel like the drug person is going to get a little bit more sloppy once he doesn't get this damn job. All that said, it's a meaty, you can tell this is a meaty show. There's a lot happening. So even with the reveal, whether or not you knew about the twist of Dave being the chip arsonist, it's kind of irrelevant to how good the writing is on this show. I have not read the book, so I have nothing to go by. I'm just going by this series. And right now, what I see, I like a lot. So Apple, you got me again. What did you guys think about the first 2 episodes of Smoke? Go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on X at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast with the same name. That's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the place podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.